All right, good evening. Over the past couple weeks, we've been streaming the AI's actual progress in the game as it goes through and it learns everything. Watching those streams, there are a few things that jump out to me that could be better. See a lot of times where it will hang around in the corners of maps, not really doing a lot in terms of progression or being stuck behind a certain area in the map. Like there was one where it was just staying in Professor Oak's lab after a while. I think that is something that I want to work today to discourage the model from doing. Another thing is to work on getting better outputs for the logging that is going on in the background. So that way you don't have to watch it as closely during the time. You can kind of look or get better indications of what's happening by letting it go through or by looking through the logs that we have via weights and biases. So we can kind of start there, and then there's a few other things that I would like to explore. One thing is potentially removing items from the coordinates after it's been in there for a certain threshold of steps. So that way, if the agent gets sent back, it can start to reacquire those steps. I think what I had seen a few times was it would skip over the Pokemon Center. I'm not sure why it hadn't learned that behavior, but then it would encounter something like the trainers on the way to Mount Moon, where it's a series of battles, and then get sent all the way back to Pallet Town. And so I think what was happening there was it would explore a little bit, not get any reward whatsoever, and then just prefer to sit around in the menus or moving in corners of the map and just kind of sitting there. So there's two actions that I think are causing that. Another thing I'm thinking about doing is to put in a small penalty for pushing against the wall. So in those cases where it's been in an area for a long time, not necessarily that it's trapped, but it's not moving away, I want to put a small penalty there so that it learns to move away from those areas where it's encountering the walls, especially if it has been there recently. And then encouraging it to do more with a little bit of a novelty reward. So giving it additional points as it proceeds and fills up. Like right now, the exploration works just by the length of the coordinate array. So as that fills up with the coordinate tuples, you get basically a point for each one. And then we take a small factor of that. I think we're doing about 0.05 of that. So every 20 new locations that it finds, it increases the explore reward. But thinking about potentially putting in a almost like a novelty, so it will not repeat the same steps. So the more frequently that it's finding recent rewards would then recent exploration rewards would then keep that keep boosting that output. And then also there's a way that we could put in like a grace period on when it's stuck in a certain location, especially things for when it's in a battle. So when you're doing a trainer battle, those can go on for many turns. If we're just penalizing it for not moving off of that square or finding a new square, there needs to be a grace period that it's taking into account the fact that you can be in a battle which can have 50 to 100 steps where it is not progressing in terms of the map, but it is progressing through the battle. And we don't want to be giving it negative rewards while it's doing something that we want. So we do have to be aware of that as we go through the process. So let's kind of start here back at the beginning for this. So this is the baseline model, which then iterates and creates these different gym environments at the beginning. Right now, when I do the stream, we only have 4 agents going. when I don't have that, I have either 16 or 24 agents going. If you're running this personally, you want to make sure this number is divisible by the number of cores that you have. In my case, I only have 4 cores available on this laptop as it's a bit older. So I can really only have something that is divisible by 4. And then here is the headless. Like I said, put a comment here. If it's set to false, then this means that it displays the environments, and that's how we do it for the stream. For the most part, you should have this for true unless you want to be looking specifically at what is happening. So for now, I'm going to change this back to true. So that way, as we go through and make some of these changes, for it to quickly spin up and test, I don't want it to go through and try and load the Pyboy environment. This is a little bit faster. We want to make sure that it gets to those 500 steps for the first training cycle more quickly. So this allows us to just be a much more faster process by doing that. Yeah, there we go. So the exploration weight here, like I said, is about 0.05. So every 20 steps that it would take would be what we would expect to happen here. The reward scale is still 1 for these because I am individually tweaking the rewards for things like events, items, and stuff like that. So I'm still keeping this at 1. I may think about trying to increase this a little bit for doing things that are not exploration, as that may be a way to help unstuck the model. Another thing, too, I want to do is because we had upped the exploration last time here to 0.1, and then I brought it back down to 0.5, I may try and set this at 0.1, but then double everything here to encourage this to just continue getting more rewards overall and kind of scaling with each other a bit more fairly. Last time I streamed, I had also implemented this infinite money. Basically, what happens is every 50 steps, it checks to see if the trainer has 10,000 gold, let's call it, in the game. If it does not, it will add 10,000 to the amount that it has. And then the disable while encounters, I'm not entirely sure if this is working, as the agent has not made it into Mount Moon yet for the new iterations. So this is still up in the air, and if this is working correctly, or if we're going to encounter some errors. When I had first done this and ran it on the old version, I had incorrectly set it, and it kept encountering wild Pokemon, even in the Pokemon centers, because I had kind of brute forced set it to the it's a value of 10, but it's divided by 255, so it's about 4%. Encounter rate, which was what Mount Moon was set to by default. So I turned that off and then turned it back on. But I turned it on basically for everywhere in the map that wasn't already happening. So it was creating issues where the game would essentially sit at the Pokemon Center and farm the level reward, because it could move around, fight a battle, win the battle, heal the Pokemon, which gives it some reward, and then also level up Pokemon along the way. So unintentionally, it was raising decent parties outside of Mount Moon. So it had a bunch of level 15 to 20 Pokemon, but it wasn't then proceeding to try and make it through the Mount Moon because it wasn't receiving the exploration reward, and it was getting quickly rewarded for just fighting the battles over and over in the Pokemon Center. So it unfortunately learned something that we did not want to, and we had to kind of throw that training session out. So let's start here with, we're going to go in, we're going to work to penalize it a little bit for encountering spaces over and over again in the groups that it's seen, or the areas that it's seen, and then work from there a little bit backwards. So let's do, it needs to go in here. The same chords. So this is the So these are the game's coordinate values. We're then putting that basically to a string, and then we are putting that string into the scene chords object with the value of the current step count. So scene chords, so it's updating this every time it steps on it. So if it stays in the same position, it's then updating it to the most recent value here. So I don't know that that is what I want to do necessarily. I want to how do I want to go through and do this? So I want to let's describe this. Get map locations, create the string, store string with most recent time at that location. So I need to come before this. Let's do this small penalty. For the same location. Visit. If or then we'll do, well, what should we call this? It's like too complicated. Stuck penalty. Well, this self stuck penalty. Then plus equal 1. Do this. So we'll come here, self dot stuck penalty equals 0. So that way it comes, that was the reset. And you also need to do it with the initialization. So Trying to see if there's any All right. Hopefully this fixes things. Just had that issue again with GitHub for Windows, or not Git for Windows, where it scans through the repository, trying to provide me these updates here where it says like the file's out of sync, which causes an issue because it opens so many instances to scan through everything all at once that it basically crashes my computer in terms of running out the resources. So I have no idea where I was in the stream when this had started to occur. So I'm going to hope to pick back up right where I had left off. And what I was discussing was what to do with the heal reward for it, because the AI is essentially using leech seed over and over again. And leech seed is not necessarily a great move to be using, especially in the early game where it does a few points of damage and then heals the Pokemon for a few points as well. But what's happening is because that is a um, decent proportion of the Bulbasaur's health, it's generating a high heal reward. So what I'm seeing is that it will go through a battle, it will have gained more rewards by using Leech Seed and then using Growl over and over again to essentially heal back all the damage that it had taken along the way, especially in encounters where, let's say, the Bulbasaur is level 10 and it's fighting a Caterpie in Viridian Forest. That's, level 5 maybe. It's going to take like 2 or 3 points of damage in terms of tackle, and then it will heal back 1 or 2 points. But because that is, it may have a health pool of like 30 or so at the game. Because it's healing back, what is that, 1/15th? So about 5% of its health pool. And then that's getting multiplied by getting multiplied by 5 here. It's just essentially farming out the heal reward rather than actually doing what we intended for it to do, or encourage here, because this was to encourage it to go back to the Pokemon Center instead of losing the reward for getting lost along the way. So the hope is that it will learn to, the hope was that it would learn to use Pokemon Center, but instead it's farming the heal rewards by using, like, fighting suboptimally, essentially, instead of trying to level itself up. It will go through and will prefer to, like I said, just farm up that heal reward in those lower levels. So I think for now, I'm just going to just disable this rather than to mess with it more. Total healing. I'm just going to leave this here. Oh no, this isn't happening. Yeah, VS Code is just throwing everything in that.
Hopefully that's helping. Okay, let's see. I'm back in here. All right, I hope this is working again. Try and go through this. So coming back to here, we had added a penalty for being stuck, but I do need to put in a few things for that code. One is checking to see if it's in battle. So let me go to the RAM map here and see if I can find for is it in battle. Because if that's the case, we know then that we can put in the grace period fairly easily. Horizon battle, number of turns in current battle. Let's see. Read HP fraction. Does that actually check if it's in battle? No, it's just checking the health of the Pokemon. Maybe this not particularly useful. I'm going to check this as well. Anytime I found good information in terms of memory map, I wanted to put it here. That way we can find things quickly, as it's a challenge to find. No, it's just like a list of the different event bits. Okay. Well, all right, let's try and find it. Pokemon menu, stats menu, main menu. Let's go through. These are the different things here. Pokemon Red, memory map. E803. E057 is not even in this list. BF13. BF13 is not here either. See what here specifically refers to battle. Current number of turns in battle. So then let's go to stuck penalty. Those are options. Let's see. Trying to find something useful here. Number of turns. So if coordinate string in here and read oh b no BC5 greater than 0 equals then we update the stuck penalty. And then the reward scale and explore rate. Wait times where this, and then we're hoping that that takes into account that is in battle. and that should hopefully allow it to continue. Minus the last is greater than the grace period. There is a stuck penalty. This incorporates grace period and the step scene. And does this. All right, we're going to try this again. Hopefully we can stay stable while this is going through. Um, All right, I'm trying to see if we have stabilized again. Seems like anytime I make changes, it goes through and tries to read the whole stinking repository. Uh, here we go again. So the issue is Visual Studio. I make a change.